Good morning, everybody. Happy August. It's crazy that it's already halfway over. I just got back from a week in Maine, so I'm maybe not totally on my game today if I forget something or I'm slow. But thanks for joining us, and we'll kick off some introductions, and then I will hand it over to Elizabeth Scott to talk about a really exciting stormwater planning training opportunity. So Kaylee, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kaylee McLaren. I'm the restoration coordinator at the club.
Thanks, Ed.
Hi, Ted Beauvais. I'm president of the Blackstone River Watershed Association.
Thanks, Darcy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Darcy Young with the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program.
Thanks. Dave Newton. Newton, do you want to introduce yourself? There you are. Well, Dave is on the board of the Blackstone River Watershed Council, BRWC, Friends of the Blackstone. Jesse.
Hi, all. I'm Jessie Davis. I work for the City of Worcester in the Department of Sustainability and Resilience, and I'm our Sustainability Project Manager.
Thanks. Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Coffier. I'm a lab tech at Upper Blackstone Clean Water.
Okay. David Tapscott.
Yeah, David Tapscott, Uxbridge Board of Health, and involved in MVP.
Thanks. Arthur Plitt. Arthur, do you want to introduce yourself? There you are.
Arthur Plitt, Blackstone River Watershed Council.
Thanks. Michael Wilkinson, sorry.
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Mike Wilkinson. I am a civil engineer with NRCS.
Thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
Greg.
Greg Dorschler, Worcester Intercollegiate Outdoors Initiative Coordinator with the Greater Worcester Land Trust.
Thanks. Julia.
Morning, I'm the Sustainability, Economic Development, and Equity Project Manager for the town of Hopkinton.
Great, nice to meet you. Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Sarah Bauer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Technical Program Director with Mass Rivers Alliance.
Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Nice Pistachio, Projects Director in Senator Sheldon Whitehouse's office in Rhode Island.
Thank you. Vincent.
Good morning. This is Vincent Ty from the town of Shrewsbury, DPW. I'm the Stormwater Coordinator.
Vincent will be our expert here as he's been through the stormwater training series, so we can go to him for questions too. Judy.
Good morning, everybody. Judy Rondo. I am with the non-point source section in the Watershed Planning Program at Mass DEP.
Katie DeGouche.
Morning, folks. I'm Katie DeGouche DiMarzio, and I work at the Rhode Island DEM and work on lakes.
Nick Cohen.
Good morning. This is Nick Cohen from the Horsley Witten Group. Nice to see everyone.
Thanks, you too. Sarah Plotnicki.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a resiliency planner at the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission.
Thanks. And did I miss anybody? Oh, Elizabeth, of course. Yes. Elizabeth, go ahead, and then you can take away the screen.
I figured I was last for a reason.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Scott, and I am serving as the Rhode Island liaison for the SNAP Network, and I am your guest speaker today. So let me get right at it and share my screen. Can you guys see my screen okay? Awesome. All right, so I'm going to move my box with everyone's faces out of the way so it doesn't get in the way of my presentation. I don't know where to put that. There we go. So good morning. It's really a pleasure to be here with you and to talk about the stormwater training and facilitated planning series that the SNEP network has organized, and we will be offering again this coming fall for our third year. So let me tell you a little bit about it. Maybe. Okay. Is that in the way? Let's see, let me move it over here. Okay, so just an outline of my presentation. What are the stormwater challenges facing the region? What is the stormwater training series and how does it address these challenges? And how does the stormwater training series advance regional consistency? And then lastly, what are the outcomes from our first 2 years? So first, a word about the SNEP network. I think most of you probably know about the SNEP network, but I need to just say give a short little advertisement for it. So we are a collaborative of 15 organizations, entities and organizations that are working under a cooperative agreement between the New England Environmental Finance Center located at the University of Southern Maine and EPA. And we are convened to provide training and technical assistance to municipalities and organizations and tribes across the Southeast New England area, which is shown in that map. And our mission is to empower communities to achieve healthy watersheds, sustainable financing, and long-term climate resilience through management of stormwater and restoration projects. And stormwater has really been a key part of a central theme through the 3.5 years, almost 4 years that we have worked as a network, and you'll hear more about that in this presentation. So what are the stormwater challenges in the region? We live in an absolutely gorgeous area with an abundance of water right now as it's pouring by. It's literally very plentiful water scene. But obviously we have lots of challenges. So some of the challenges that you're all very familiar with are bacteria levels that are unsafe for recreational uses. And obviously in the coastal area, it can impact shellfishing uses as well. And a lot of our, in Rhode Island, a lot of our beaches are saltwater beaches. So obviously they too can be impacted. We also see elevated nutrients contributing to algal and cyanobacteria blooms. Again, I know these are issues of concern to the communities in the Blackstone River watershed. And then obviously we've got issues of localized flooding. The rain, we all know that our precipitation patterns are changing kind of before our eyes, and that we're seeing dramatically heavier rainfall than we used to see just occasionally, and now it's much more common. Obviously, our drainage systems are designed for rainfall patterns that were occurring at the time that they were designed and constructed. In some cases, that's 100 years ago. And so in many cases, our systems just don't have are not built to manage the kind of storms that we're now seeing. And so that's leading to municipalities, having to invest in their stormwater infrastructure, which in many cases has been kind of the third utility that's out of sight and out of mind, and hasn't been given kind of the attention that, say, wastewater and drinking water infrastructure has. In addition, obviously, to the flooding issues, municipalities are also having to do retrofits of their drainage systems to address pollutant issues that are identified in TMDLs, the water quality restoration studies that once completed and once identifying stormwater as a major contributor to the restoration, to the impairment, then municipalities are required to actually take action to begin to address those sources of pollution. So the SNEP network has since the beginning of our formation, we've gotten requests from municipalities to help them with managing stormwater issues in their municipality. And the first year we kind of were just, going at it in a more traditional way of, doing what we could, providing some consultant services and our own services, but in kind of a traditional way of, responding by just providing technical assistance and not necessarily trying to provide training that would build capacity. That all changed in year 2, and we said, you know what, let's put together a training series, because we've got the wherewithal to help municipalities to build their own capacity to be able to identify easily maintained and low-cost solutions to stormwater problems, and to use the latest tools and techniques to develop the conceptual designs, cost estimates, and expected pollutant removal. Obviously, no one training series can address the myriad of issues that are facing municipalities, but we believe that this training series can really help build communities' capacity to better manage their systems and address the challenges before them. And through a series of training and facilitated planning sessions, we are assisting municipalities and tribes with identifying easily maintained and low cost. I already did that. So the other thing that we really stress is the importance of stakeholder engagement and consideration to the community's operational and maintenance capacity at the outset of the planning process. And what we are really encouraging municipalities to do is to apply the techniques that they learn in the training series to develop a cohesive strategy and a cohort of community leaders who are all kind of on the same page as to how to advance stormwater implementation projects in their town. And we think that can really help communities to address the stormwater challenges overall. So obviously what we hope is that, all the communities come through the process and that they've got a conceptual design that they can show for their work. But, really at the more fundamental, we're really hoping that by encouraging them to form local teams to participate in the series, that they're building community cohesiveness in developing solutions, and that by improving their understanding of kind of the basics of stormwater management and the importance of design and designing with maintenance in mind, and also to have clear communication with stakeholder engagement, that can really help overall with their approach to managing stormwater. So the planning team for the training series includes myself, and as well as Dr. Jamie Houle with the University of New Hampshire Stormwater Center, Wenley Ferguson, who's Director of Habitat Restoration at Save the Bay, Ryan Kopp, who's our stormwater coordinator with Audubon Society and is a central player with the Stormwater Innovation Center at Roger Williams Park. Jen West, who is with the Narragansett Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve and serves as facilitator for the series. Dr. Kimberly Groff, who is my counterpart with the SNEP Network in Massachusetts. Danica Belknap and Helen Zinkevich with the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District. And then lastly, Stephanie Covina with the Watershed Collaborative. So the series is 5 sessions. In the first session, we cover basically just an overview of what we're going to be doing, and for us all, the individual, each team, but then the cohort overall, to understanding the target stormwater problem in each of the municipalities or communities. The second, and the importance of communicating, kind of coming up with a clear problem statement, not only to make sure that the team is all on the same page, but also in terms of communicating to others what they're doing. Session 2 is goes through options for retrofitting existing drainage systems and greening urbanized landscapes. The third and fourth sessions are around developing conceptual designs, including the pollutant loading calculations and the reductions, as well as cost estimates. And then the last session is putting it all together and developing key messages. And that's where we get into a little bit more of that, the stakeholder involvement and engagement process. Throughout, so at the beginning of the series, we plan a site visit for in each of the communities that are participating, just so that it's, you know, kind of get everyone's eyes on the area where the community is seeking the stormwater solution, and that we can all look at what are the challenges and what are the opportunities for stormwater treatment. And then we basically, throughout the process, each community is assigned a point of contact from our planning team. And then that person just works with the team to basically help with the facilitated planning with the community members, whoever is on that team. And we do encourage, as I said before, for municipalities to really think very inclusively about who is involved in the planning session, so that it's basically all kind of the leaders in each community who are involved with stormwater management, whether that be at the local level or you know, land trust or watershed organization or whomever is, you know, basically, you know, a leader in stormwater management for that community. So we are using the 2022 published New England Stormwater Retrofit Manual as kind of the technical guide for our training series. And in so doing, we're really advancing regional consistencies. We're basically encouraging everyone to tap into the tools and resources that are available in that Stormwater Retrofit Manual. So as I mentioned, we've completed 2 years. So in the first year, we had the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe in the town of Mashpee, and they were working on a project on Santua Pond. We had the City of Providence and the Seekonk River Alliance, and they were looking to develop some green infrastructure solutions for the area that drains into York Pond and eventually discharges into the Seekonk River. We had the town of Westerly they were working on greening their main street, which is a main entrance into the town of Westerly, and it's I would say it's 80% impervious cover. So they are looking to basically green it, and not only to deal with stormwater issues, but also to make it a more aesthetically pleasing and welcoming entranceway to the town. The town of South Kingstown, who was looking to deal with some issues on the Saugatucket River, both not so much flooding, but water quality issues on the lower Saugatucket River, which drains into the Point Judith Pond. And then lastly, we had the town of Warren, who was dealing with actually a detention pond that was contributing to some problems in a salt marsh area in the Palmer River. And one of the issues was that there was just so much fresh water. I mean, it basically was doing what it's supposed to do, a detention pond, storing, runoff. But it just was, there were problems with the detention pond. So it was causing seepage out and introducing Phragmites to a valuable salt marsh area. And so they actually were looking at doing some infiltration. And I'll talk a little bit more about use some of those communities as examples. And then last year, in year 2, we had the town of Marion in Massachusetts. And they had an issue with a detention pond that discharges into Sprague Cove, and it basically which has some water quality issues, and so they were looking to retrofit an existing detention pond as well. And in the city of New Bedford, Mass, they worked with South Coast Groundworks on a project that actually was dealing with runoff onto a little local park that is underutilized in one of their more disadvantaged areas of the city. And so they actually were looking at doing some infiltration and biofiltration systems that could be completed as part of improvements at the park, so that they would get kind of the double win of not only improving stormwater quality, but also improving the park and making a more user friendly, nice place to be. And the town of North Kingstown, they were looking to address untreated runoff from a neighborhood area and a parking lot into their town beach that introduced pollutants of all sorts, but obviously bacteria was the pollutant of concern for them. And then lastly is the town of Shrewsbury. And Vincent, it's great that you're here. They were dealing with issues on, oh, now I'm going to forget the pond's name. But it will come. Thank you. Basically nutrient issues, and they came up with some great designs for installing infiltration trenches in an upper part of a catchment area. So just to give a few ideas, just so you kind of see like what is the potential here if we wanted to participate. So I mentioned about South Kingstown and their work on a parking lot in the lower portion of the Saugatucket River. And so basically their design included removing a curb and one travel parking lane. And then basically taking that area and installing a bioretention swale to treat stormwater from the parking lot, and also creating a vegetative buffer along, there's a linear walkway along the river. And currently it feels like it's just a walkway next to a parking lot. And what they were hoping to do, it hasn't yet been constructed, is to, by removing that one travel lane and building this bio swale, that they would basically create more of a park-like feel along the river. I mentioned Westerly and the work that they're doing on Main Street, which is here and here. And you can see all the parking lots in this area. And not a whole lot of room to do work on along the right of way itself. And so their project actually was doing work on one of the private properties where they were basically, and it's this parcel right here, where they would install a sediment forebay, a bioretention swale, and then a wet pond before discharging into the Patuxent River. Pawcatuck River. And then in the case of Warren, I mentioned that they had an issue with a failing detention pond, but they also decided that there was a lot of opportunity to do more infiltration of stormwater up in the catchment area, which in this case, it was an industrial park. So very wide streets, I guess, necessitated by the fact that there's a lot of trucks that are coming and going, in this industrial park. And so they came up with some designs to basically do some bioinfiltration swales, but also some subsurface trenches as well. And then in the case of Providence, so this is over on the east side of Providence. And if you're familiar with that area, there are some very broad streets and boulevards. Like these intersections are just huge, some of them. And so what they propose to do is to basically take and fill in this one corner, so that they basically are they don't need the big intersections that they have. And so they wanted to basically put a rain garden in here, as well as on this parcel, which actually is part of the Brown University campus parking lot for their athletic fields. And so they're working with Brown to get permission to go forward with this design. So in addition to providing stormwater treatment, it also has the benefit of providing traffic calming to this area. There's a lot of this whole area. There's a lot of schools and institutions, religious institutions and play fields. So there's just like, it's a real hub, a community hub for the area. And people drive very fast in their cars on these wide roads. So they were basically looking to get that benefit as well. And in the town of Mashpee, this was to deal with nutrient enrichment problems in Santua Pond. And so they were looking to retrofit the town landing and to basically contour a parking lot to direct flow into a buyer retention system, rain gardens that would capture that runoff, as well as to retrofit some leaching catch basins as well. And I believe they've gotten, I haven't mentioned it, but several of these communities have gotten grants to be able to advance their projects to the next phase of design, engineering, and installation. And then I think my last example, sorry, Vincent, I didn't include Shrewsbury because I didn't have a good graphic for it. But in the case of North Kingstown, as I mentioned, they were looking to address untreated runoff coming into onto their beach. Here's the North Kingstown Beach, here's Narragansett Bay. And so their design involved, here's the catch basin that collects runoff from the neighborhood to basically install a subsurface infiltration system. And they were thinking that they would be able to make it be like a gravel wetland of sorts. Obviously, it's not a wetland because it's subsurface, but the idea of getting anaerobic digestion going on so that they get nitrogen removal. And then to deal with the runoff from the parking lot, there would be also a rain garden in that corner, as well as, I guess actually they ended up with a linear rain garden. And then in this case, they would need to relocate their outfall onto the beach. And I included their problem statement just so that you can kind of see the kind of, just an example of the work that we did with them, another example where they, developed this problem statement. So if you're interested in applying, we do ask that you submit a application by September 8th. It is, if you go to our website, www.snepnetwork.org, you can look at I think it's under the training, and if you hit that link, you'll come to this page. And there is a link down at the bottom, which basically brings you to a one-page application. It's a very simple application, I think it's a one-pager. So it's low level of, effort needed to be able to apply. And then lastly, just another plug for the SNEP Network's tools and resources also on our webpage. Is this graphic that basically helps to organize the resources that we do have available, from project prioritization to project and community planning, design and engineering, funding and financing, implementation, and then maintenance. All that we see as kind of the continuum of efforts that are needed to be able to meet the challenges of stormwater in the current day. And if you're interested, you can reach out to me at my email address, elizabethscottri@gmail.com. If you live in Rhode Island, or you can talk to Kim Groff or reach out to Kim Groff at kimberlygroffma@gmail.com. Or of course, you all could reach out to Stephanie Covino as well. So that is it. And I probably took longer than I said I was going to, Steph. Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for going over that. It's really helpful to see all those examples again and look at the project statements and think about how communities have really had some hands-on training, and there's so much more to it as well. I mean, going through some of those lessons, you're really diving into, you know, the calculator of how do I size these things, or how do I figure out how much it will cost? And just like you said, those are really important, not just for this specific project, for figuring out how we're going to move this forward, but also just building that capacity within your own community organization to move forward. It's also a note that, you know, last year we did have a community working directly with an organization with Groundwork South Coast to be able to put forward one of these projects. So if that's of interest to you as well, we're really open to talking to you about it. So if you have an idea and you're like, I don't know if this is right or not, just shoot me an email, give me a call. Text me, whatever works, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. And if you have trouble putting in the application for whatever reason, let me know. I will help you. So we're big on helping you get through this. We want communities to go through this and really get that technical assistance. So you have a few weeks left until it's due. So please check it out. Does anyone have questions or comments for Elizabeth? Vincent, feel free to jump in here as well. I'll give you an uncomfortable minute to think about it.
Stephanie, how does this relate to the Massachusetts MVP program?
Totally separate. If you have an MVP project that you want to move forward, we can help with that. There's no, or if there's something you're thinking about going to MVP later on, we can look at that. There's no match requirement within this grant. It's basically just technical assistance. There's no money changing hands. And so you're applying to say, this is of interest to me, this is why it's important to me, and this is why I would use this information. So certainly, as you're looking at that, you can say, we're interested in moving this forward through MVP for implementation, or we've identified this as an issue with our MVP planning document, and that can certainly, you know, get you some extra points. Good question. Any other questions or comments from folks? Okay, I'll let you off the hook. Well, thanks, Elizabeth, and feel free, if you think of other things, folks, to stick it in the chat, and we can get back to you as well. But it's a really great opportunity, and if any of the Blackstone communities participate, I would probably be your community liaison. So I would be helping you through the process. I'd be there at the monthly meetings, and I would be there at site visits with you, helping you through it, looking at what your drainage area is, looking at what your BMPs might be, and talking through some examples. So there's a lot of hand-holding here, and whatever you need, whether it's more on the engineering side, which I will push towards my New Hampshire Stormwater Center folks, who are absolutely brilliant. It's, you know, I think one of the most amazing things out of this program is just like having the ear of those folks for these meetings and just being able to ask them whatever you need, because they can be tough to get a hold of sometimes, but it's really fantastic. So yeah. All right, well, we will move on in our agenda, and if you think of anything else, just throw in the chat. Does anyone, for subgroup updates, does anyone have any bikeway or greenway updates? This is not my area of expertise, so I often rely on you guys to tell me what's going on. University work. I don't know if we have a lot of university folks on the call here. I think there will be some coming up. The collaborative is looking to potentially work with RISD on some potential access points, but more to come. And we also are looking to work with Holy Cross on some CSO educational information, combined sewer overflow educational information in Worcester, but we haven't quite sussed it all out yet, so more to come. If anyone else has other university updates or needs help with some water quality or conservation related topics with your university, let me know. Beach passage, thanks, Earl, for putting that in the chat. So this is a really big one. feel free to unmute yourself as well if you'd like, and to talk about that opportunity. So NOAA has Restoring Fish Passage and Restoring Tribal Priority Fish Passage through Barrier Removal Opportunity. There's a couple links there in the chat. We will put those in the notes as well. That's a really, really big one. So we know that DEM is working on an application for fish passage as well, and we've reached out to them and offered assistance as much as possible. There's a group working on fish passage, and I don't know, Darcy, if you know anything else other than that either. No, okay. So I think fish passage is kind of, I don't think a lot has happened, but we will be having a meeting with some of the stakeholders in September. So we'll know a little bit more about the application and the, what DEM is thinking fish passage will look like around those lower 4 dams on the Blackstone. We know that they're anticipating one passage around the lower 2 dams, so Main Street and Main Street and Slater Mill, and then we're kind of pushing off the other 2 of Elizabeth Webbing and Valley Falls until next year, but more to come on that one. For water quality, thank you for that note from NRCS as well. As the storm comes through, if there's damage from flooding, NRCS may have emergency watershed program funding. That's a new one to me, so that's interesting. Again, feel free to unmute and elaborate, but or if you have a link to that or how we would know about it, we can share that in the notes as well. For water quality, as we mentioned before, and we put it in the email, I really encourage you to sign up for, if you're interested in combined sewer overflow, to sign up for the tour that we're offering. We did this last fall and it was really popular, and people said it was helpful and kind of eye-opening to be able to see it for themselves what this combined sewer overflow facility looks like in Worcester, and be able to really ask the engineers who run it these questions about how combined sewer overflow works. So 2 things. One is that we have an open sign up for a tour on August 24th from 3 to 4 p.m. So that is next Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. And we have some spots open on that. We limit the size a little bit just because it's not a very big facility, but thanks, Sarah. It's a great tour. It's pretty neat. Thanks for that link. The other thing is that we are working with a videographer to create, we'll have a videographer on that tour also, and we're going to be creating an informational video on CSO. So we're working to make that narrative with the city engineers, stormwater engineers, and we're hoping to make one very short, like 45 to 60-second video that just sort of provides you with this very basic introduction, opportunity to learn more that we can put on social media and whatnot. And then we'll also be creating a slightly longer video that goes into slightly more depth for a few minutes anyway about combined sewer overflow in the city of Worcester, because it's a bit unique. CSO already is a little complicated and confusing for folks. And then when you put in this facility that manages CSO, so sometimes there's an event, but it doesn't actually get released, we will kind of go into explaining what that all means. So we're hoping that there's more informational materials coming out after that as well, but we've wanted to do this for a long time, and we've finally gotten the city to say okay.
Stephanie, thank you for organizing this. I wasn't able to make it last year. I'm looking forward to this year. Just is there parking on site? Is that we just meet at the facility? Is that the plan? And then there was an issue back in July where the CSO facility had installed new gauging equipment whereby they could differentiate and report on both the stormwater CSO flow that was either treated or untreated. And generally, most of it's treated, which is the idea of having the facility, unless it exceeds capacity. But they were having, I noticed on the CSO statements that you get if you sign up, they were showing that there would be all these fairly high volumes and it was all untreated. And I queried the city and found out that they ran out of chlorine and they were having supply issues. And so they didn't have the disinfectant, but now they do. I've noticed that they're, and I suspect if we haven't seen an alert, we're going to see one pretty soon from this storm that came through this morning.
I would also anticipate that. Yeah. And I know there was one earlier this week as well. But yeah, you're completely right. And I was wondering about that as well when I saw that there was a couple of untreated flows that seemed like they were small enough the city could have handled. And yeah, they had, unfortunately, supply chain issues and didn't have the disinfectant in enough quantity with all of the events that we'd had. So that was unfortunate. But it luckily wasn't a failure of the system, which is good. That wasn't an expensive fix, which is good. So is Sophia, for your question, is the CSO model part of the wastewater treatment model that's being developed? I don't know about the wastewater treatment model. I know the city of Worcester has a drainage master plan that they're currently going through, and I know has a few more months before it's completed. I don't know. I think that CSO is not considered in that. I don't know. Jesse, if you have any more information about that, I know it's a DPW thing.
CSO is not part of that project that we're doing.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, sorry. Can I get more information on the wastewater treatment model? I'm actually curious about it in the CSO model, but
I don't know of a wastewater treatment model.
oh, that's what you're saying. You're saying the opposite, that it's not part of the. Sorry, I was in the middle of something and I heard you answer, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta go find a private.
No problem. Yeah, I don't know of a wastewater treatment
modeling.
model.
Yeah, we're working on stormwater modeling.
Oh, because I remember that a group of you guys came to visit the plant, the Blackstone, Upper Blackstone Clean Water, to tour it. And I know you guys, I don't know if that's already planned, a second tour, but I remember the first tour that you guys came to. I don't remember who it was who came to it, but someone told me that they were working on a model, and that's why they were visiting, and that's why I bring it up.
Yeah, I think maybe there was a confusion over that. I think that your tour was of the Green Worcester Advisory Committee.
Is that what it was? Okay.
That came.
That
yeah,
one got canceled though, Steph.
Oh, I'm not sure what group it was then. But we would, I haven't set this up yet just because we have a lot of other training days and tours set up, but we would like to do another tour of Upper Blackstone. I think anyone who lives in an area where their wastewater is going to Upper Blackstone should tour it and know where their wastewater goes or have an idea of how wastewater works. So
yeah. Did Kate contact you? Did anybody contact you back? And
yeah, the timing was wrong on what we were proposing, so we have to switch it to a different date and time, but we'll find another one that works. So
sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's
yeah,
a little bit of a hectic time, so run
no
around.
problem. Yeah. And for Sarah's question, will the video be available? 1000%. That's our goal, is to get it out there as much as possible. We'll put it on the social and YouTube and our website and as much as we can. So yeah. Darcy, sorry to lose you there. Thank you for the support of CSO. We really need those. Oh, and yeah, thank you. We'll put that in our partner up here, which we can transition into now. So NBP has open registration for their annual symposium. Always a really interesting time. And this year's focus is on regional biodiversity. It'll be at Roger Williams on October 6th. So fantastic. We'll share that as an event as well. I forgot to mention, we also have these culvert assessment trainings. So these do not happen very often. We've gotten interest from New York and West Virginia on these because they just don't offer them very much. And so we were able to receive some private foundation funding that has paid for Kaylee's time and to run some of these trainings. So if you're interested in looking at culverts within your community or other communities, you just go online and watch this like hour and a half video. You review the form, the intake form to be able to fill out at every culvert. And once you kind of understand that, we'll go out in the field and review all of it, and then you'll shadow 20 culverts. And so that typically takes like 2.5 days. So we usually just say sign up for 3 different days. And you will go out and we provide we have about 8 pairs, I think, of waders. We have stadia rods and measuring equipment and all of that, and we'll walk you through the process. And so by the end of that, you should feel pretty comfortable going out to assess culverts on your own, not actually by yourself. We always recommend having at least 2 people, especially when you're crossing the road back and forth and having to measure roadways. But you'll be put into the database so that you can assess any culvert within the 13 states that participate from Maine to West Virginia. So I would very much encourage you to sign up. If you do this program, you also can go through another online program to be a coordinator, and you can train others as well. That was what I did, so I'm able to train you guys. So feel free to sign up. We'd love to have you. Share it around. And it's open to anybody. You can be a consultant, you can be a town engineer, you could be a planner, you could be a volunteer, you can be from an organization, doesn't matter. We just really want to get it out there. Out of the 5,000 culverts in our watershed in Mass and Rhode Island, we only have about 40 in this database. So we really want to be able to get more in there so that communities know what they're looking at and then identify their priorities for replacement or expansion. Other general updates that folks have that they want to share.
Stephanie, the BRWA is having its annual meeting September 18th in Grafton at the Public Library. And we have Emily Vogler coming in, and Emily is going to do a repeat of what she did for this group last month with her Narragansett Bay Dam Atlas and the decision tools associated with that. She'll have a little more time for the presentation. She's going to be on at 7. She has to about 8:15 or 8:30 to present and answer questions. So it'd be a good opportunity to catch that and get a little more in depth. And we're going to have our business meeting from 6:30 to 7. So it's open to the public. I'll be getting out a flyer here soon. There's a registration request, but basically you could show up. We're asking for registration just to plan for refreshments and such. But September 18th, Grafton Public Library, the common room at the ground floor, 6:30 if you want to come to the business meeting, 7 o'clock for Emily.
Awesome. Thank you. That's very exciting. Yeah, that was a really good presentation last month. Patty. Patty, go ahead. You have your hand up. There you go. You're breaking up a lot.
Still,
we can't hear you, Patty. Can you send it in the chat maybe? Sorry about that. We'll get Patty in the chat, and go ahead, Jesse.
Hi, yeah, I have 2 things I wanted to share. One is we have a job opening in our department, City of Worcester Sustainability and Resilience. Through our Lakes and Ponds program, we're looking for a new coordinator for that. And I will drop that link in the chat. So if you can share that, that would be great. This is obviously a very specialized position, so this person needs a lot of knowledge. So we're kind of trying to spread the word far and wide. So if you can share that, anyone you think might be interested, that would be great. And then the second thing I wanted to share is kind of related to what I think it was Sophia brought up, and we were just briefly mentioning. So the city's DPW and our Department of Sustainability and Resilience are partnering on a stormwater drainage and green infrastructure master plan funded in part by a municipal an MVP grant. So this is a 2-year project that Steph was mentioning, hopefully be finished by next spring. And we are actually looking for volunteers to get involved with it. I think it went out on the Blackstone newsletter, but just wanted to share again. So we, in terms of the model, we've hired a consultant to develop a model. So they've been studying the city, determining where the worst flooding is occurring, and have developed a computer model to determine over time, let's predict where the flooding is going to get worse. And then that's where we can put our effort in terms of gray and green infrastructure updates, prioritizing certain areas of the city. And we have that models it's in progress, but we are asking residents or anyone who's interested, you don't have to be a resident of the city, to go out and gather data, be a community scientist and gather data. Very easy. All you have to do is sign up online and go outside when there's flooding and take pictures and videos and upload it to our portal with location, and just capture the extent of the flooding. And so then the consultant will be incorporating the data that people gather into their model. So I will also put a link to that. If you can, oh, Steph already did both of them. Thank you. So both of the links are there. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, Bessie. We've sent that out a couple times, and I don't live in Worcester anymore, but I'm really hoping that folks sign up and can help ground truth that model, because that's really important, and it's such a good way to learn about flooding in your community as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing
that. Also from the city of Worcester, I don't think we've shared this yet, but there will be a new opening for a city planner. And so if anyone is interested or knows folks that are interested to be a senior city planner in the Department of Planning and Regulatory Services, we will share that with you as well. Michael, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on what Daryl had put in the chat about the NRCS program. And I'm not super aware of the NOAA funding for fish ladders, but as far as the emergency watershed program funding, and feel free to interrupt if this has been brought up at previous meetings, but it's a program that we have as a result of flooding events that may occur in the watershed, and NRCS partners with municipalities, and we contribute a large portion of funding for repairs to any damages as a result of flooding events. And I mean, examples of that could be something like a stream bank restoration if there was a portion of the river that was eroding away or had eroded away as a result of a large storm. Then we can contribute funding towards repairing that stream bank. And another part of that emergency watershed program is property buyouts, which would be getting people out of the flood zone and relocating them in areas that aren't prone to flooding. And we cover a lot of costs associated with that as well. I just wanted to make sure people were aware of that. We are trying to make that outreach a little better because a lot of people generally aren't aware of our programs related to that. But yeah, so when flooding events happen and residents contact, say their DPW or people from their town, we want that to be an option for the town to come to NRCS in the case of providing additional funding.
Well, that's a great connection to the conversation we just had in Worcester of identifying community flooding. So that sounds like a great follow-up, and maybe you know, if it's helpful to organize a meeting or anything and have more conversations about that, Jesse, I'm happy to do so based on your findings from that drainage master plan in the most flood prone areas. I know, having worked for the city and done the floodplain planning where our recurring flooded areas are as well. So I think there's definitely some buyout opportunity. There are a few properties that we just see again and again.
Hi, Sarah. This is Daryl Moore with NRCS. And thanks for bringing that up, Mike. And I just kind of want to elaborate a little bit more because as Mike had just mentioned, I don't think that we've done a very good job of doing outreach as far as the programs available through USDA and NRCS. But NRCS has been charged by Congress to handle PL 566 projects and also the Emergency Watershed Protection Act. And so we do get funding for them. Unfortunately, with PL 566, the funding had kind of dried up from late 2008, I think it was, until about 2015. But Congress is currently funding PL 566. And so we are working on several projects here in Rhode Island. And I believe there are a few in Massachusetts as well. And the state conservation engineer in Massachusetts, Darren Davis, can also help with the emergency watershed protection, or if there are any PL 566 projects that want to work on with the watersheds. But we're also very available here in Rhode Island for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Can you mention what PL 566 is?
It's Public Law 566. It's the watershed protection program. And we basically are charged with protecting against flooding, water quality, habitat availability for wildlife habitat, and also some recreation to a certain extent. We don't have 100% cost on the recreational aspect. I think it's a 75% cost share. And we do have to work with a quasi-government. So that would be the towns or conservation districts as sponsors for the program. But in Rhode Island, we're working on the Wood Pawcatuck, which takes in several communities, looking at the entire watershed, focusing on flooding, but also on water quality. We're also working on the Woonasquatucket, and that's in the planning stage right now. And that's mostly Providence through going up to Smithfield. Then we've got the Pocasset River, which is currently in the design stage. And so we've got several projects that we've been working on.
And would you guys be the contact for both Rhode Island and Massachusetts, or just Rhode Island?
Just for Rhode Island, but you can contact me to get the contacts for Massachusetts.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I will. If you can let me know where to find who that would be, or I can look it up and then share it in the notes. Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know about NRCS more. My cousin worked for NRCS as a soil scientist, and one of my best friends is a soil scientist with NRCS as well. So, but these are both new opportunities to me. So thank you for sharing those. Yeah.
Well, NRCS has not done a very good job overall of the outreach with it. We're very familiar with the Farm Bill in general. And so most of the soil scientists are working on with the Farm Bill type projects. The emergency watershed protection falls under the Farm Bill, but the PL 566 is outside of the Farm Bill. And since Congress had not really funded it from the 2008 timeframe until 2015, it had really not gotten a whole lot of traction for the last couple of decades. And so now we're trying to make sure that we get the word out there. And there is funding availability through the IRA funding that came in.
Great. Thank you. This is wonderful.
Then we're also, just an addition, we're working on 8 additional watersheds. One of the things that before we can go into a plan, we do sort of a preliminary investigation, a feasibility report to it's sort of the due diligence that the work that we're wanting to do on a watershed is a viable project. So it's not just somebody's wish list of an expensive project that they couldn't afford to do on their own. And so they want the government to pay for it, but there's no real community benefit. And so we do the preliminary investigation to kind of do that, that section. But we've just completed 8 of those preliminary investigations and getting ready to start a 9th one. And most of these will probably be funded to move into the planning phase. And so Rhode Island's kind of on the forefront of that when it comes to across the country right now.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely follow up on that one, and I'll look more into it. Sounds like maybe that would be a good presentation at another meeting, actually, is to tell us more in detail about these programs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll reach out. Judy, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have a few updates from the Watershed Planning Program. Our summer Watershed Planning Program newsletter is slated to be released at the end of August. So that provides, you know, just updates on activities that are going on within the Watershed Planning Program, updates about surface water quality standards, things like that. So if anyone is interested in being on the distribution list for that, just email me and I will add you to our list. Let's see, our virtual non-point source management forum is scheduled for mid-September. We don't have a date nailed down yet, but it should be the week of the 18th. And this is a good opportunity for folks to become more familiar with our grant programs, if you're not too familiar with those. We also typically have a guest speaker who talks about a grant project that they've done through one or both sometimes of our grant programs. And then also we have a segment at the end where we share information on tools and resources that are available to help folks with their non-point source management. Our 319 grant request for responses, or RFR, will be coming out in October. We don't have an exact date yet, but it will be October, we believe. 319 funds implementation projects and capacity building projects. If you are planning on doing an implementation project, you do need to have a watershed-based plan. Let's see, what else about 319? There is a 40% match requirement for that grant program. And this particular grant round will have a strong environmental justice focus. So projects that will benefit environmental justice communities will have a higher priority than projects that don't address environmental justice communities. And any organization is eligible to apply for 319. Our 604B RFR will be coming out in November. So 604B is geared towards planning and assessment, watershed-based plan development. So if you want to put in a 319, you should apply for 604B first to develop your watershed-based plan. And then you can also do BMP planning and design under 604B as well. So we typically recommend that folks do 604B first and then come in for 319 when they have their implementations identified. 604B also will fund activities like water quality monitoring. So if you're looking for funding for that, which many groups always are, let's see, there is no match requirement for 604B, but if you do provide match, it does kind of improve your chances of being funded. For this upcoming RFR, we are going to have 2 sources of funding. We'll have our base funding, which comes through the state revolving fund, and also a portion of it will come through the bipartisan infrastructure law. And so projects that will be funded through the BIL will need to have a climate resiliency and or environmental justice focus or benefit. The eligible entities for this are a little more restricted. Regional planning agencies, any unit of government, so county government, local governments are eligible, conservation districts are eligible, and also tribes, federally recognized tribes. And finally, in January, we will be hosting a community-based social marketing workshop. If you're not familiar with community-based social marketing, it's sort of a very specific focus on the social marketing concept. The consultant that we are contracting with to do this workshop has a website. It's www.cbsm.com. I'll put this in the chat for you. So if you have a water quality focused social marketing project in mind and would like to learn more about how to use this particular methodology, let me know, and I will add you to the invitation list. And I guess in saying that, you know, if you're interested in any of the grants or the newsletter or participating in the social marketing workshop, just email me, judith.rondo@mass.gov, and I will add you to our email list.
Thank you, Judy. I'm very excited about all of that funding coming up. I have a question.
We are
actually.
too. We have a lot of funding coming up this year. I should probably add that. So think big if you're thinking about projects.
We're thinking big in the Blackstone, don't worry.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what you come up with.
I had a question on one part that you mentioned, because there are two funding sources and that the BIL funded projects need to have certain requirements. When you apply, do you have to specify whether you're seeking SRF funding or BIL funding?
You know what? We're still working that out. So that's to be determined.
Good to know. Okay. Doesn't hurt to always have climate resiliency and environmental justice in your applications anyway, though.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And if folks have questions for Judy, feel free to shoot her an email or put them in the chat and maybe we can get them.
This is Nick. Can I just ask a quick question for Judy also? When you mentioned environmental justice communities for the funding opportunities, is that going to be defined by Massachusetts standards that we typically see in documents like MEPA or other definitions of environmental justice communities? And one of the reasons I ask is there's some new federal tools that I know federal grants are using for that. So just wondering how the Massachusetts angle will be incorporated, or if it'll be at a federal definition or up to the applicant to define that.
That is such an excellent question. I think, again, we're still in the process of working all this out, but I think for 319, we will be using Massachusetts environmental justice definition. So if folks aren't familiar with the Mass Environmental Justice Viewer, I can pop that in the chat too, that link. But the state has identified various environmental justice communities based on the most current census. For the bill funding, I believe it is going to be sort of a combination of the federal definition and the state definition. But again, we're still trying to work that out. We're trying to figure out kind of where the sweet spot is between the two definitions so that we're able to capture the best environmental justice definition that we can so that we can benefit the most communities in the state.
Got it. Thank you.
That
That's
will
helpful.
definitely be defined in the RFR when it's released. There won't be any question.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. That was a wonderful question.
It looks like Sarah has a very similar question, but I think the answer is still in that TBD of what if there are no environmental justice communities listed in the Mass data set, but they are within the federal data set. So it sounds like we'll get to that. Yeah,
sorry, I was just reading your question, Sarah. As I said, it's going to end up being some sort of happy medium between the two data sets. So it probably will be expanded en masse. Right now, we're not quite sure what it's going to look like, so definitely stay tuned.
Perfect. Wonderful, thank you. And then Sarah, you had a, oh, sorry, I know Patty had her hand up, but she put it down now. Let me know if you want to drop in again, Patty. So Sarah, you had a note in the chat working on a regional heat resiliency plan for South Central Mass. And if folks are interested in joining the advisory board or being part of that, especially thinking about the needs of vulnerable populations being considered and helping with survey outreach, let Sarah know. I'm glad you're doing this. It sounds fantastic. Part of the survey will be an online mapping survey to show residents where they can go to cool down, where they feel overheated most within their communities. Can you clarify the where South Central Mass region is? Does that start at Worcester?
Yeah, so basically, it's all 40 of CMRPC's communities. So it basically starts in Barry, in the west. It goes all the way east to Berlin, and then all the way down to the Connecticut border. So between Sturbridge and Blackstone. So it does include the city of Worcester as well.
That's good. Thank you. You can share that out too. Are there other updates or opportunities, which are so common right now, which is really exciting, that folks want to talk about?
Hey, Stephanie.
Hey.
Hi. Yeah, I just want to let people know that our solar sighting report is going to be coming out on September 13th. And we call it Growing Solar, Protecting Nature. So stay tuned very soon.
Very exciting, thank you. And we know from some Clark students, we're definitely seeing a lot of solar development within our watershed as well. So it'll be interesting to read.
Yes, South Central Massachusetts and Southeast Massachusetts are the two largest sort of concentrations of ground mount solar. You know, there's quite a few scattered around other parts of the state too, but those are two hot spots.
Yeah, definitely a need to address. Thanks, Heidi. Patty.
Can you hear me?
Sort of. Still breaking up a lot.
For some reason, I'm having a lot of trouble. I did a bunch of information. Program, our youth kayak program in Woonsocket, next to Sequoia Park. Taylor has a couple of cleanup events coming up. One festival here, which is part of the city, the Bay, the cleanups. I'm not sure if you get those newsletters, but I apologize. I just getting out of chat, frozen out. Zoom.
I think what I heard was there's a youth kayak program and that there's some cleanups coming up. I'm gonna rely on your chat messages to give us the details there, Patty. I'm sorry, you're breaking up quite a bit.
It's not working, but I can give you the information as well.
I think you're going to send me the information. I think is what I heard, but I will. We got your chat messages, and we will copy those into the notes for sure. And I think you said it was a newsletter, which from the chat was the Keep Blackstone Valley Beautiful newsletter has that information. So we'll grab that link as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Patty. Oh yeah, thanks for that message, Judy, and the link to the EJ screen tool. Okay, anything else that folks want to share? I did want to mention one other funding opportunity specifically for this area. So SNAP, the Southeast New England program, has a SOAR, they're calling it. Let me go back to the notes to find this. SNAP opportunity to advance resilience. So let me give you the link for this here. The hard part is that it's through grants.gov, and anyone who's been on grants.gov knows how challenging it is. But it is nice that it's just within Southeast New England, so it's a little bit less competitive. You're not competing with the whole country. And the focus is to improve and support the resilience of disadvantaged communities with meaningful community involvement as it relates to design and implementation of projects to address anticipated effects of climate change and the historic long-term impacts of environmental and social injustices. So it will fund planning, implementation, outreach, training, capacity, staff building that all support SNAP's 5-year strategic plan. So I would encourage you to look at this one and either work with me to put in an application with the Blackstone Collaborative, or maybe a few different groups can work together to put in an application. But I really think that it's an opportunity for the Blackstone, and working with our tribes, our environmental justice communities that historically don't have as much of their voices heard within environmental decision making to really change that with some of this funding. So the money is, there's about $1.25 million available, and they expect about 10 awards. So I haven't looked too much into this, being on vacation the past week, but I will definitely look into it, and please let me know if you're interested in working with us on that one and follow up with me. We've also been asked to share information about this AMC Waters and Rivers Protection Fund. So it's up to $10,000 to support a project that improves protection and understanding of our region's water resources. So recreational opportunities, research, protection of riparian environments, advocacy, and I'll give you a link for that one. It's a really easy application. So for $10,000, I would encourage you to apply for that. I might be reaching out to some of you also about some recreational opportunities and some mapping and looking at access for that one as well. Might be a good link. If you didn't hear, the Division of Ecological Restoration had an opening, an open RFP for dam removal, early phase dam removal projects that would provide not funding, but just technical assistance. DER would hire the consultant, and they would provide sort of an overview feasibility report of removal. And that was originally due last Friday on the 11th, but they actually extended the deadline for another 2 weeks. So now it's due on September 1st. So if your community had thought about doing that, but then pushed it off, couldn't make a deadline, wasn't sure about it, you have another 2 weeks. So please let us know. I know I've reached out to some of you about this. We would love to help you look at dam removal within your community. So if you want to apply, it's a really easy application. If you shoot me an email or Kaylee an email, we will help you fill out the application. We will help you get it in. The municipality has to be the applicant. You have to be the one that sends it in, but we will happily help you write it. And it's only about 4 questions. And at the end, it just says, I acknowledge this information is true. So it doesn't have to go through city council. It doesn't have to get tons of approvals. It's really just very basic and getting technical assistance. So we would love to help you with that one as well. I think that those are the big ones that we haven't talked about before. So you guys don't have any other updates. We'll add those screening tools in our notes. Thank you. And we'll add it to our database, or we have a GIS sort of mapping database of all the different mapping tools in the area. So we'll add that data tool there too. That's a great opportunity. Thanks, guys. But I'll let you go early. Thank you so much for everybody showing up. We really appreciate everyone sharing information and hearing about all these different things going on. And our next meeting will be September 15th, Friday, September 15th, 10 to 12 as always. And we're going to have Kevin Rice from the Blackstone River National Historical Park coming and talking to us about some of the programs that they have going on there. So stay tuned. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. I hope it clears up where you are and you get to enjoy the day. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks all. Take care.